7 years ago, I wrote a book called Technology versus Humanity. Feels like yesterday, because now we're at this very junction where basically almost everything becomes possible. And I would say that's heaven and hell. I mean, clearly, if everything is possible, what do we choose? I did a film in Lanzarote, Canary Islands, in the middle of COVID called The Good Future. You can see it at thegoodfuturefilm.com. And it talks about how we can create a future together that's actually good. The right to live, the right to have children, the right to work, not the right to have 3 cars, or like on that level, okay? When I made the film, my own children, 28 and 33 today, they said, "You are joking. There is no good future." What are you talking about, good future? Right? We have wars that have been lingering for a long time. Now they're here. We have AI taking our jobs. 71% of Americans think that AI is the end of the world once it arrives. Right? You would think Europeans would think of it that way. So I want to show you first what the not good future could look like, the bad future. And we have lots of statistics on this showing what the problem is with this. For example, what this chart shows, we're spending more on military and everything else, including, of course, subsidies for fossil fuel than we spend on climate finance. Like a fraction. We need to spend 9 trillion per year to solve the climate problem. Now, this is what we actually spend. When we look at this chart, it gets even worse. We're doing pretty good in Europe and America, but look at the rest of the world. No, that's not happening. If we don't get them along, we won't get there at all. Here, we see computing, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, causing more emissions than airplanes. So if you're in the cloud business and you fly a lot, then you're in real trouble. And this curve, even worse. Democracy is in decline. Why is that? That's a hard question. I'll get back to that in a second. But clearly, we're getting more estranged with each other. And the question of trust emerges. And what has social media done for democracy? Nothing good. That's the bad stuff. Now, here's the good stuff. Okay, you make up your own mind. We are separating GDP growth from emissions already. That's, of course, the goal. We can't stop growing, really. I mean, the degrowth idea, that's tough. We have this chart showing that the green industry, the green future, is becoming a business. The biggest business since the invention of fossil fuel and the gas engine. Right? Becoming a business, not just an investment. We have this chart showing commitments for nuclear fusion. Many people are hesitant about this. I think 10, 15 years will be the end of energy constraints. Think about that. AI, supposed to increase GDP by 17 trillion. That's the promise, of course, of the AI companies. Anyway, positive stats, negative stats. Which ones do you believe? Kevin Kelly, futurist, says we should be optimistic, not because our problems are smaller, but because we have more capacity to solve them. This is important to remember. We have lots of problems, but we have huge capacity. But here's the problem. We have scientific and technological capacity, and we have money, as has been proven with COVID. When the money is needed, we use the money. But what's missing is the capacity to change what we want. Because at the bottom of all of this is not that we can't do it, it's that we've decided not to do it. That's the problem with climate change, and that is the problem, of course, with AI. OpenAI, the Blade Runner company, as I call it, has decided that AGI is the goal, and has decided that for humanity. It seems like a good business. And underneath all of that is the question about what we value, what we want. I mean, AI clearly is the biggest change in business since the printing press, since fire, maybe, as people keep saying. It changes everything. It's been around for a long time, but we're looking at this, and underlying all of those things are the revolutions that, of course, you're pretty well aware of. The first one is the technology revolution, digital revolution, which is mostly AI now. The sustainability revolution, 100x of technology. In fact, they're kind of the same. Big Blue, not IBM, and Big Green. They go together. One begets the other, so to speak. But if we're really going to switch to sustainable sources, and we're talking about a change that's much bigger than switching to a database or the cloud or mobile. The last big change is the purpose revolution. People who are now coming into power, the millennials, the Gen Y, roughly 25 to 40, they want different things. What my generation wanted, prosperity, growth, doing better, enrichment, and that worked. But we keep pushing further for growth. But generally speaking, growth, yeah, unlimited, that's quite difficult. The bottom line is to get this to work, AI, we also need HI, human intelligence. Because there's many things in here that we don't understand. The machine does not understand soft information, tacit knowledge, no such thing. No common sense. The machine does not know what a value is, what a feeling is, what it feels like. It knows how to simulate. But if you want something real, it's not a simulation. This is what happened with the metaverse. We found out we do like real life. And here, of course, AI is driving sustainability, clearly. Once we have better data, all these things, we can drive that. But we also need HI, human intelligence, to make priorities, to put our money in the right place, to remove the $6 trillion of fossil fuel subsidy per year. Can you imagine? We're spending $6 trillion to kill ourselves per year. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. And why do we do that? Because oil and gas makes $2 billion profit every single day. And where does that money go? It goes to the ones making the decisions. It goes to our funds, our venture funds. So anyway, human intelligence. The last one, of course, that's all about human purpose, trying to figure out what's next, which way to go. So first challenge, we're going from economy to planet as priority. You may think that's obvious, but it's not. I mean, if you're talking about climate emergency, you ain't seen nothing yet, as the song goes. If you live in the UK, Extinction Rebellion, think of that times 1,000. That's our future. And much quicker than we thought. The second one is this. We're moving to a new form of capitalism. I mean, is there any such thing than sustainable capitalism? I don't know. Next one, our policy. Shifting from a single focus on profit and growth to people, planet, purpose, prosperity. John Elkerton, 20 years old. But it's finally happening. The stock markets are waking up to this. We're shifting from humans doing routines to machines doing routines. That is huge. Not here in France or in Switzerland where I live. We don't do that many routines. But think about Brazil, Indonesia, India. Millions of people doing engineering in India. 1 million engineers per year leaving college, doing routine work mostly. Call centers, 21 million people. That is routine work. What's going to happen there? So big changes, big opportunities. And clearly what's happening here is we have to think about AI as a general purpose technology. And the printing press took about 200 years to take off. It changed religion, changed the church, changed the world, changed everything. 200 years. How long does this take? 2 years now. And we're still at the beginning. Again, you ain't seen nothing yet. What we're going to see here, general purpose technology, and AI is the platform. Just like before, cloud computing was the platform, or the mobile was the platform, or apps, and now AI is the platform. So that's a huge shift in terms of which way we're heading, what we're doing with it. I use the symbol of kava, cognification, making things smart, augmentation, augmenting ourselves, virtualization, which is mostly virtual reality, and glasses and so on, and only on the top about automation. All those four things are like taken off at the same time. So that has the potential to create the good future. I mean, if I can ask the bot for an answer, what's the difference there in terms of Google search, for example? Well, with Google search, I don't get an answer. I have to make an answer. I read 10 things and say, oh, that's the answer or not. But one answer? Who's in charge of that? Is it the person that clicks the most or whoever pays most advertising?
Hey, Figure One, what do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Okay, the next thing he will say is that, no, I just can't do that. Remember the film? Now, humanoid robots, digital assistants, software, humanoid robots, hardware. 3 years from now, most of us will have a digital assistant in either shape. So if you work in a hospital, you can have a robot lifting people out of the bathtub and so on. It's a sort of progression from what we have now, which is really IA, intelligent assistants. Better software, no longer stupid. I think most of the value is here. Just getting stuff done that actually works. Okay. Then we have more broader artificial intelligence, and then finally, the declared goal of Microsoft and OpenAI to build generally intelligent machines. Now this, in my view, is flat-out madness. I explain in a second. Thomson Reuters says we're going to see Every professional having a personal assistant in the next 3 years. Lawyers, doctors, dentists, insurance people. That seems quite likely. A co-pilot. I mean, that's what Microsoft wants, right? But basically, everybody will make co-pilots. And it will make sense so that I can speak to a smarter version of Siri. Like that's probably what's coming next week or so at the Apple event. And here we have Sam Altman. The coming change of AI will center around the most impressive of human capabilities, the ability to think, create, understand, and reason. Why in the world would we do that? Let me ask that question. It seems foolish to me. First of all, it can't really be done for now. We don't even have the computing power in scale, right? And second, it seems like a death wish. You know, I'm going to be the second smart intelligence in the world. No, I'd like to remain the first smart intelligence and use those machines as a tool, not as a god. Like I said, you ain't seen nothing yet. The numbers from The Economist yesterday, there's Mistral. Looks like he got some money. That's good. That's not 60, it's 6 billion. But anyway, lots of money. This is the biggest raising of money ever in the history of technology. And why is that? Because it changes the entire ecosystem. It changes what the world can do and which way we're headed. My question is, are we going to use this money, these companies, those technologies, to build the good future, or are we going to build the rich future? Well, it could be the same, of course, to some instance, to some of us. But are we going to build a good future for 10 billion people, or just for the 10% of the 10%? And what exactly does that mean? And who is in charge? Is it Antonio Guterres? Who says what is the right thing to do? But we have to think about this. Otherwise, we end up here. Remember this? Blade Runner, the Tyrell building, 1982. OpenAI running the world. Why does OpenAI get to decide what the future of humanity is? I don't get it. Just because they have raised lots of money? Or Sam is convincing? There must be a better answer than that. The temptation will be huge. We're talking about trillions here. We're not talking about little money. We're talking about the biggest ever. Like the invention of the fossil fuel industry. Bigger. We're going to need this. I've been talking about this for 8 years. I called it back then the Digital Ethics Council. That's kind of lofty. So I came up with something better. International Artificial Intelligence Agency, the IAIA. And of course, the UN, they like to make up new agencies, as does the Commission. Yeah? But we have to figure something out about how we regulate on the top end, not on the lower end. Like for intelligent assistance, we don't need a lot of regulation. We don't regulate a hammer. Yeah? You can kill somebody with a hammer or you build a house. But there's no need to regulate the hammer. But there is a need to regulate a drone that can kill by itself, which some countries have been known to do recently. We got to think about that. With technology, the question is no longer what is possible, but what we want. Do you want to upload your brain to the internet, become a cyborg? You can't do that today. It's expensive. You can definitely do it in 2030, when we reach the so-called singularity. The question is, what do you want? And what do Europeans want? What do Americans want? I think in the end, we kind of all want the same thing, right? We'd like to stay human for the most part. There are some exemptions in Silicon Valley. They want to be superhuman. That's also interesting, transhumanism. But those are big questions. Can we trust technology to give answers about the purpose of life? Well, definitely not, because technology has no ethics. Going back to science fiction, technology is morally neutral until we use it. And it doesn't care about what your thoughts are about love or any of those ephemeral things. It doesn't even know what that is. It's an algorithm. If we want it to do the right thing, then we have to make it do the right thing. So it's not just AI, it's everything after AI. Quantum computing, nuclear fusion, genetic engineering, synthetic biology. This is just one example. Who is mission control? And AI is the first case. When we have synthetic biology, we can build new things from nothing, from molecules. I mean, who's going to be in charge of that? And who's going to say whether you can change your genome to avoid cancer or be a super soldier? We have to get on the same page on this. And even China will want to be on the same page. They have proven that when they put the CRISPR-Cas9 doctor in jail 6 years ago. That was a very rare moment. But clearly, this is about the good old French word, telos. No, that's Greek. I'm just kidding. Telos, wisdom. It's a very important word. It means understanding the context, the meaning. But we live here. We're humanists. Not to say that Americans aren't humanists, but anyway, we all have our differences. We have to get onto the same page. Going back to the agency. Antonio Guterres said the other day, we either collaborate or we perish. He was talking about climate change. I'm talking about AI. A lot of AI that won't matter because it's just better software, so it's just business. Right? And it's kind of Darwinism, as the CEO of IBM said, people get fired. That's the reality of business. Okay, but on the larger level, who's in charge? I hope not Mark Andreessen, the biggest investor in the world, really, who runs a fund in the US. He wrote a thing called the Techno-Optimist Manifesto. You got to read it. Everything is like hair-raising. Right? Techno-optimist, libertarian, Milton Friedman stuff. And he says in there, no material problem, including those caused by technology, cannot be solved by more technology. What? I mean, did I hear you right? He also said that if we prevent AI to be rolled out, we're killing people. It's the same than murder, if we don't roll out the AI to help people. Yeah, okay, so that's Silicon Valley. Milton Friedman, 1973. The purpose of business is to monetize. I think that may have well been true back then. But if we do that today, we die. That's it. Because we're at the top of this simple agenda.
I hate to sound like utopic tech bro here, but the increase in quality of life that AI can deliver is extraordinary.
AI is the most profound technology humanity is working on, more profound than fire or electricity.
How so?
They can help us solve very hard scientific problems that humans are not capable of solving themselves.
Addressing climate change will not be particularly difficult for a system like that.
The potential for AI to help scientists cure, prevent, and manage all diseases in this century.
I completely trust you.
Jon Stewart, you got to see that on YouTube. It's really funny. This is a great sort of summary of what people are thinking. Everything can be solved. We can solve climate change and cancer, and all we have to do is tick the box and say, yes, AI, please. No, that's a false promise. Technology improves things, makes it more efficient, makes it possible. It has no desire to fix anything. It's not something that has its own purpose. We have to put the purpose in it. We have to make it do the right thing. This chart shows you what people are thinking, so-called experts. The negative part is all of the things that we talk about today, politics, elections, warfare, the negative consequence of AI, right? That's the red bar. And then we have the yellow bar, right? The good things, protection, sustainability, quality of life, economic performance. Wow, you say, how can something be that good and that bad? And how do we make our choices? It could be heaven, it could be hell. We have to figure out a way forward together. So that means focusing on the stuff that's mostly heaven. Making that work first, which is usually the nuts and bolts. Ai Weiwei, the famous Chinese artist, he said, it is becoming increasingly apparent that technological advancements alone cannot propel humanity forward. I mean, we're here at the tech event. Right? Technology is the key for all that to happen, but alone it will do nothing for the good things to happen. It's just a tool. The nuclear bomb, AI, just larger tools. We don't just need great tools. I mean, look at this chart here. Shows you how productivity is going up with AI. That's the forecast, 4 or 5x. It's mind-blowing. If that happens, imagine you can work 5 times as efficiently. Everybody else gets fired. No, just kidding. So you can just have more time off, I suppose. We also need great tellers, not just great tools. Otherwise, we end up with this curve here. This is the curve of productivity. This is actually the curve that you saw in the US for a long time. Productivity up, output up, wages down. That is not a good idea. You may think it's a good idea, but it creates inequality, which creates crime and war and disaster, basically. We want that curve to go up too, human flourishing, not just stay the same. We need what I call full-stack economics. The single-stack economics is just profit. That's finished. We can clearly see that already peaking everywhere. Full stack means 4 things: people, planet, purpose, prosperity. Best example is Meta. Somebody from Meta here? Oh, I can speak freely, that's good. If we measure companies based on the 4 Ps, Meta is a great example. Not doing too well on people. Yeah. Planet? Maybe. Purpose? No. Prosperity? Yes. Not a very good average. So what does your company measure like in the future? You can't get 10 out of 10 for all of these, right? But a little bit higher would be good. The most powerful company in the world today? Aramco, Saudi Arabian oil company. 0, 0, 0, 0, 10. That's going to kill us, right? They're doing their best to get to that point. And it's just something that happens. What are we going to do about this? There was a letter last year saying we should pause AI. I signed the letter. But now I'm thinking, as we look back at all the activities, we need to pause capitalism. We need to pause, move fast and break things. Huh? That's what we're seeing now in AI. And we're going to break lots of things. So, as we go into the digital future, and everything is becoming digital, this is the paradigm shift from this torched earth idea of profit and growth to the 4 Ps. The question is going to be, what do we actually want? And how do we get that money to the people in the South, in developing countries? How do we get them to use that? Because if they don't get to use it, we're finished. We're finished with climate change, we're finished with wars, and we have to share with them. COP28 said we should start paying them. We should start paying India not to build coal plants. I mean, that logic is obvious, but try to explain that to a voter in Germany. I send money to India. This is rebooting our economics. It's the biggest opportunity ever. We have to get away from this one-track thinking. And it's also rebooting what happens with trust. Social media already destroyed trust in media because social media isn't media, it's an algorithm, it's a bot. And as a result, what do we have? The chart I showed earlier. We keep this up, nobody will believe anything. Nobody will collaborate with anybody. Nobody will trust anybody. We already have the lowest amount of trust in some countries in the world, like in Brazil. Trusting each other has gone down by like 50%. Basically, humans and machines, this is what machines do, simple calculation, and this is what humans do. Feeling, thinking, intuition, imagination. It's a whole different cup of tea. They don't compare. Let's stop comparing them. Machines and humans are kind of converging in a practical sense, like with the iPhone or the Apple Vision Pro. But the bottom line is this, humans aren't machines. At least I don't believe we are. That's why artificial intelligence should not be considered to be like a human. There's no such thing. It does its own thing. That's what we use it for. This is the important part of what we're learning here. Biological intelligence has multiple components. Social, cultural, emotional, kinesthetic. This is what machines do. They run numbers, and they beat us at running numbers. So this pyramid is changing completely. The pyramid of skills that we're seeing in the old world was this, the pyramid of work, and now machines will take over the lower part, the knowledge, the data, the information. That's what's happening to education. We're going to focus on this part, the human-only part. That's why you're here, not watching it on a live stream. That's why we need to be in real life. That's why we need to focus on what makes us human, which is the tacit knowledge, the quiet knowledge, not the explicit knowledge. So the bots will come and they'll eat this, right? The explicit knowledge, the stuff that's easy to describe. And we're left with this. That's not a bad thing, except for we have to train to get ready for that. And we have to let go of the sort of the monkey work, you said, the commodity work. And we have to stop thinking of machines as being somewhat sentient. There is no such thing. They are very good at pretending. But pretending is not the same thing. It's a game. It's something that we use for entertainment. The AI can tell us who we should marry. This is actually already happening. So let's build AI for competence, not consciousness. That's the good future. If we can get the machines to do the job and help us to get the job done, to be faster, more efficient, better, provide better services to the customer, we win. Consciousness, why? Why do I want the machine to reason? It can't, and it won't. It will do a very bad job. Machines are for answers. Humans are for questions. Picasso, Kevin Kelly, and this is what they do. This is what we do. We do all those things that aren't about answers. This is why it's interesting what's happening with Google. Now Google isn't providing links. It's providing answers. And guess what happens? It's a disaster. Because no context, no meaning, no causality. You've seen, of course, the Google reviews with the pizza was mentioned earlier. And we see, of course, what's happening with Scarlett Johansson and ChatGPT, where the copy of her voice is being used to run the chatbot, and so on. So I'm going to summarize, and then I'm off the stage. So first, the good future isn't going to be made by a machine. You will not find happiness on a screen, in a bot, in an app, or someplace like that. It's a completely different story. What it does, it makes the job easier. It makes it possible to do new things. What we need to do is to find this balance. That's the job. And we will have to decide when do we keep the human in the loop or not. This is our choice. And when we talk about the good future, we have to also understand that our mindset contains our future. We think badly about the future, we build a bad future. We can't do that. We have to be open to all the possibilities and to change. Very important. Mistrusting the future makes it very hard to let go of the past. And here in Europe, we have a lot of problems letting go of the past. We like the past. That's not a bad thing. But we gotta like the future also. We have to trust the future. I'll end with a slide that was made by AI, as it's fashionable these days. Move fast and fix things. Because the AI couldn't write things. That was beyond its capability. But anyway, so let's flip this around and not move fast and break things, but let's move fast and fix things, because we're supposed to be architects of the future, not its victims. Thanks very much for listening. Thank you.